video on how to drive manual for beginners. This video took a long time because my camera actually isn't working, and I also need a microphone. So I would have recorded this video a couple of days ago, but I wasn't able to. So I'm just gonna do it from my phone because I don't want to wait any longer. I currently in my BMW M Roadster, and let's start. The thing that you need to learn is there's an extra pedal when you're driving manual. So this on the left is going to be a clutch pedal. You're going to control your clutch pedal with your left foot. Your brake and your gas are still controlled by your right foot. So anytime you want to shift gears, you're going to press the clutch down and then come here. With your right hand, you're going to, let's say you want to go from neutral to first, you're going to go with the clutch and then you're going to take the clutch off. So anytime you want to shift gears, you want to press the clutch in, shift, and then let off the clutch. That's the key thing, key detail that you need when you're driving manual. To start the car, I'm going to put it in neutral, have my foot on the brake, and on my car, I need to put the clutch in, because if I don't have the clutch in and I start the car, nothing happens. On some cars, you don't have to put the clutch in, but just make sure your car's in neutral if you're not going to step on the clutch. So I'm going to put the clutch in, and then I'm going to start the car. The e-brake is basically like your parking brake. So I have my foot on the brake, the car in neutral. If your stick moves side to side, you know how people shake their sticks. That's to check if it's in neutral. You don't necessarily have to do that. So go, put the handbrake down. Your car's in neutral, you can let off the clutch, have your foot on the brake just in case you're on a slight hill so your car doesn't roll. In neutral, your car's gonna roll depending on the hill, so keep that in mind. So when you are on a hill, when you're parking, or just on a hill at a stoplight, stop sign, your car is gonna roll when it is in neutral if your foot is not on the brake. So we went through the basics. Now what you wanna do is you wanna put your foot down on the clutch. Car, first gear, all right? Once you're in first, you can slowly let off the clutch, and you get to the point where your car starts rolling a little bit. So once the car starts rolling, what you want to do is completely let off the clutch and apply a little bit of gas. So now that you're fully rolling, you can let off the clutch completely. And then you want to shift, you want to go clutch second, rev match the car so you're not burning through the clutch, and then you're going. So one thing to keep in mind when you are driving manual, I highly recommend you come to an empty parking lot like I am right now, just because there won't be any traffic. Have a sort of level parking so you're not rolling away. Highly recommend that because it makes it a lot easier. The first time that I drove manual, I was just put straight onto the road. It was a little overwhelming, but it kind of got me to, when you get in pressure, you tend to perform better. But I highly recommend you do go to a parking lot or some type of empty parking garage and make sure it's kind of level, sort of level, and flat. So it's just easier, non-stressful, and you can obviously just easily learn it. I'm in an empty parking lot, and we've gone through first and second and learned what the clutch is. So the hardest part of learning manual is probably to learn the downshifts, but like starting off, that's not important. What you need to learn is about the clutch and then first gear. Starting off, if you let off the clutch too fast, your car is going to stall and then turn off. And that's just not good for your car, and also not good for your clutch if you continuously do that. So I'm going to turn my car back on, and I have the clutch in, and I have my car in first. So a key tip or trick is when you do let off the clutch, do it slowly, and your car should start rolling, right? So once you're rolling, you can basically let off of the clutch and you're going. You need to just slowly let off of the clutch, and the car will get moving. But in normal cases, that's a little too slow for the normal road, And what in most practical uses and in most cases of every car, you're going to put it in first, and then you're going to let off of the clutch and then slowly apply gas so you get a little bit of RPMs, and then you're rolling. You're on a rolling start and you're all good to go. It's just to take it slow and just calmly do it. So now we're gonna get the car rolling again. Now the car is rolling. So you want to move on to the second gear. Obviously you don't want to burn through fuel and you don't want to overextend your engine when you are in gear. So once you get the car rolling, I'm gonna flip a U-turn here real quick. So the car is rolling, you're building RPMs. What you're gonna do is clutch in second gear and then kind of rev match it. Now I'll explain that in just a second. And then when you're dropping into second, one thing that you want to do is when you clutch in, your RPMs are gonna drop as you are technically in a neutral state and your transmission is not in work. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna lose RPMs. So when you do let off the clutch, you want to let off the gas, but you want to just be, and then when you put it in gear, slowly letting off the clutch, you want to put just to apply a little bit of gas so it revs up and then it matches the RPM, so then you don't burn through your clutch. But also in this car, if I'm going from first and I'm going into second, by the time the RPMs drop, I'm basically at the point where I don't need to apply any gas just because it's at that second gear. So putting it into third. All right, so when you're in third, and then let's say you go to fourth. When you're in fourth gear, and let's say you want to slow down for a turn, and the speed limit changes, right? So what you want to do is you're going to have to downshift into third. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Third to fourth, and now I have to go. When I'm in third, I'm going to have to rev up and then match third gear. Otherwise, I'm going to burn straight into my clutch. And that's just gonna cause the clutch to not last as long and cause an early clutch replacement. And clutch replacements are not cheap. So if I'm in third and I want to go back down to second, let's say, what I'm going to do is clutch in, give it a little bit of gas, and then at the same time putting it into second and letting off the clutch. And that's a perfect downshift. And in most cases, you're not going to downshift very often, but every once in a while it does happen. In most cases, when people do tend to come to a stop, people do downshift, people do like to momentum and the engine braking as the RPMs do rise to brake. It is a little strainful on the engine and it's not extremely healthy for it. I've done some research if engine braking is all good for the engine or not. People say that it's good, people say that it's not. It's up to you. Depends how you want to do it. I suggest you don't engine brake to an extreme level. Like if you want to roll it out, when I come to a stop, if I'm coming to a stop just like the stop sign's right there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it out a little bit. I'm going to get on the brakes, I'm going to clutch in and put it into neutral, and then roll to the stop sign, and then put it back into gear, and then go. Driving manual for people who don't know how to do it and maybe just bought your first manual car is on hills. So there's actually a trick. If you have an older car that doesn't have hill climb assist and all the technologies, maybe you just have a very bone stock car. So there is a trick to getting up the hills or kind of overcoming the hills. So if you're sitting on a hill, you obviously going to have your foot on the brake, right? If you don't, you're going to roll backwards. So you're going to put the clutch in and then put the car into first gear, and then so you're going to slowly let off the clutch, but don't let off the brake. You'll feel your car kind of engaging, and that's the point where your car will start moving forward. So at that point, your car's already moving forward. It should be going up the hill, right? So as I'm slowly letting off the clutch, my foot is still on the brake, but it's engaging and the car is moving forward. So when you know the light's about to turn green or the next car in front of you on the stop sign is going, you're going to just slowly let on, and then as it rolls, let off of the let off of the brake, let onto the gas, and let off the clutch. Hopefully that helps. So there's also a couple people saying in my comment section that you shouldn't start in second. So there's also another thing about starting in second gear. If you're driving in the winter, if you're driving in the snow, like a place in Wisconsin like I am, if you're in the snow, most people recommend that you do start in second, because in first gear you might not get the direct traction you need, and it's a lot easier to grab the snow in second gear. Shifting, the e-brake. So clutch in, first gear, e-brake down, let off the clutch, slowly apply to the gas, and your car should start rolling. Every time you are going to switch a gear, every single time you're going to switch a gear, no matter what, if you're going into neutral and into a gear, if you're going from neutral into a gear, if you're going from a gear to a gear, going into reverse, going into all of that, what you need to have the clutch down, otherwise you are just going to destroy your transmission. Also, money shifting is a thing. I've done it, not to a very bad extent, but when I first learned, I did money shift one time. I went from fourth into third instead of going into fifth. So money shifting is when you're attempting to go into a gear. Let's say you're in second and you go to third, but instead of going to third, you go to first. What you're gonna do is you're gonna burn through your clutch. You're gonna burn through the clutch, and it's gonna rev up because it has to rev match itself. It's gonna rev up, burn through the clutch, and obviously that's not good for the car. So always make sure you know what gear you're going into. Second to third to fourth to fifth. So when you're downshifting, you're gonna rev match the car as you're shifting. It does take some skill to get used to downshifting. At first, I always, instead of downshifting, I just put my car into neutral, and I got a new car. I got an Audi. This car is a little hard to drive because it is an M series. It's a BMW. They did put a lot of effort into making this transmission very, very hard and very kind of race oriented. So I got my Audi and I finally started learning how to downshift. I recommend you do a little bit of research if you're looking into buying a manual car, how hard that car is to learn on. This car I learned on, and it was really, really hard. I've driven cars after this. I've driven a couple before, but this was the first time I truly got to daily a manual car. And the best way to just fully learn it, understand it, is to drive it. You have to truly drive a manual. Like for a week, it took me about a week and a half, to like perfect shifting. And then to get downshifting, it takes a little bit. Have some patience. Go into a secluded parking lot where there aren't any people around, and just learn how to get out of first gear and into second gear. Once you master the first and second shift, go try to find an opener road. Try to find less traffic, a 25 miles per hour zone residential area. Go from second to third, and then from there, you should be good. Start hitting the road, start hitting the hills, trying to get practice in, and then try the downshifting. A lot of people, what they do is they put the car into neutral, let it roll out, and use the brakes instead of going into gear. But downshifting is a thing if you're going racing, if you're going into a place where there's a lower speed limit, you're going to have to downshift. So I highly recommend that you do start rev matching downshifts. For one thing, for parking a manual car, as you see right now, I am in neutral and I have the e-brake down. My car is rolling. That's what it will do in neutral. Your car is currently off, so fully turn the car off. The first thing I do is e-brake, and then if you're on a hill, it's recommended that you park in gear. I just always park in gear. It's a habit for me. I clutch, first gear, and the car is parked. If the e-brake fails, the car is in gear, so it is not going to go anywhere. You can see if I take the e-brake down, the gear just holds it into place and it's not rolling anymore. So e-brake, make sure this is in gear if you want to prefer to have the car in gear, and then the e-brake, and then you can take the key out and you're all good to go. I hope you guys have found this video enjoyable, and if you guys enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. If you're coming from TikTok, leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching.